Hello, and welcome back. This video is about putting all the level build helper pieces together. And a special thanks to all my supporters. Thank you for helping me help others. We can start by updating the UI. So we'll open our Build Helper widget. And here we'll go with some really fancy controls like a vertical box. And keep that in the top left corner. We'll make it 200 by 200 and pop it out. What do we use here? 10? 10. Now we're going to throw an edit box in here, a editable text. As you can see, it's really easy to see. So let's also wrap that in a border. And as usual, we'll make the border color a little darker. We also want to throw in a pair of buttons. We can call this one Save Button. We want to make this a variable, add some text to it. The text will be safe. And of course centered, because we all love centered. And then we duplicate the Save button, call it a Load button, with some text of Load. And they're a little squished together. I don't think there's a control inside the parent, the box in this case, to spread them out with some spacing, because in the children, under the slot section, there's padding. So in here, we'll just throw 5 in the top and the bottom, spread them out a little bit. We want our editable text. We'll call this slot name edit, and we'll make that a variable. So then we want our save button to have an on-click event. We'll add the load button one as well. And for both of these, we're getting our slot name edit, getting the text, and we'll be converting that to a string through the use of an event dispatcher. So we can just call this on save. It has an input of a string called slot name. And sadly, we can't just duplicate that, so we'll just make another one called on load. With the same parameter. So on save, we're doing a call. On load, we're doing a call. We drag that in here, we get our conversion. And then we can just duplicate that. This all looks good. So then in our build helper level blueprint, back up in our begin play. So in our event graph, we can zoom way out, see our ridiculously long begin play. And at the end, we're again adding the WBP build helper so that we can bind event to on save. We'll create a event. We don't have a matching function right now, so we can just use this to create it. Hit F2 on here, call it save level. We'll get to that shortly. And then same setup, we're going to call bind event to on load. Create a match or create an event for a load level. Conveniently, the signature already matches. And then in our save level, we're effectively doing the opposite of load level. The first thing we do here is we want to create our save game object. This will be of type build helper save game. The intent here is to fill out the data from his. So we're going to get the tiles map. And to fill that up, we need our added tiles. And we use the keys to iterate through this. And what we're doing here is we're taking our added tiles. We want to find based on the key. And as a reminder, this is a added tile data. It's very similar to the Build Helper data, which the point of this is we're going to take our tiles, we're going to call add. So we're throwing this over here. The key is the same as this one, and for the value we want to make the Build Helper data. And this is going to be based on the same tile type and rotation. Just pop this down a little bit so it's a little clearer to see this line. And lastly, when this has completed iterating, we want to call the save game to slot, which we'll drag up here. And we use the slot name sent in. You may have a little bit of trouble if you save this tiles as a local variable and then update that. You'd still have to set it back to the target. So for that, if you did it a local, then you would want to call set tiles here and drag in that local variable. Otherwise, it all looks good. And the last thing we want to do is in our event graph, let's zoom out, go way to the bottom. We want to override end play, because the intent here is that when we load into the build helper level, it will automatically load the, build helper slot save game. When we exit or just hit stop, end play will get called. And we're just doing that to call save level. Sending along that same slot name just to verify that was right up here, build helper slot. So if we hit start and we make our usual set of 4 corners, hit stop, should save it, hit start, should load it up. However, looks like it's not setting the values correctly for the locations. Looks like we forgot to drag in location in our load level initially. Let's redo that. We'll start this, we'll get rid of that. We'll make our 4 corners. Stop, start again, and it's looking good now. Also, to test the save and load up here, we can just throw in a straight path. There, we'll just save this. Let's call this blah. Hit save. Should have changed the color on that text apparently. We'll go ahead and delete these 3 so that when we stop and restart, it shows that it's the build helper slot instead. We'll type blah in here and then hit load, and it reverts back to those. So I'm going to pause the recording here and make this level a little more interesting and then come back. So there we have a little more interesting level. We go ahead and hit stop, hit start just to make sure it looks good, and it's good. Also of note is that because we didn't use any specific game mode base, the default player that's set up does allow you to fly around. So it makes that a little easier if you want to make a bigger level. So with all that done, how do we actually put it together and make it useful? We can take our level 1 here. We're just going to duplicate this one, because it has a few bits that we don't want to replicate right now. It was 0, 1, so it made it 0, 2, which is good. If we load into this, we have our level 1. So we first want to go into our tower manager. The tower manager has tower locations, which is pointing at all the dirt. We want to clear that out so that it doesn't complain when we try to delete the tiles. I'm just going to delete the folder itself so it's a little quicker. So we do that. And apparently that's not how it works. Let me undo that. Select everything in the folder instead. And delete that. And then we want to use our Editor Utility Widget. Right-click that to run the widget. We'll hit Apply. It loads in the level. The camera for the Build Helper level was at the origin, so that's why it started over here, which is fine. We just want to make a few changes, like the player start. It's way over here. We can move that back over closer to the origin area. And then we want to update our path object. So to do that, I'll drag that over. We need to remember that the path is actually above that section, so we can actually just put the camera up so it's looking basically straight down, or we can lower it back to the path itself. You can also just check these locations. This should actually be at -100, I believe. -50. Oh, going the wrong way. -150. Close enough. And then that looks like it's going to be 550 and then 100. Oh, that's the height. We'll leave that one alone. And I guess I was wrong. This should actually be right about there. 600, okay. And we want to click on one of these notes to get it into that edit mode. And then we can move them around. Use this to change the angle. Yeah, this will be easier if we just set the Z back down to 0 or close to it. Yeah, that looks better. And I'll just pause the video again and update the path and then restart. And as a reminder, when you're editing the spline, you can just right click to add a spline point. And also you can specifically set the location to make sure it's on the points you want. And that looks good enough. All right, with that done, we can then save our level, go back into our splash or main menu level. I'm going to open up our game instance blueprint because that's where our level names are. And in here, I'm just going to set the second one here to level 2. So now when we run, our level 1 here is going to be the original one. The second one here is this one. And you can see the pathing. Oh, I forgot to put it up 110, but the pathing is working. We can't currently set towers. If we go back into our level 2, so originally the way this is we have our tower manager here. We can add all the tower locations for all the dirt spots. However, now that we have a better understanding of all that stuff, let's also make it work in Blueprint. So in our tower manager, incidentally, if you don't remember where it is in the folder structure and you want to access the blueprint, if it's in the level, you can also just click right over here. So in our event graph for begin play, we're spawning our towers based on the tower locations. So let's change this slightly. We'll throw in a sequence to keep the old functionality working. We'll just drop this down here. Control drag that over here. So in this case, we want to take our tower locations. If that is empty, because we've chosen to do it programmatically instead, we can then call get all actors of class. We now know that the class is actually a static mesh or a static mesh actor. And then we want to iterate through that. And for each of these actors, we have a static mesh component. So we can get that. And then from that, we can also get the static mesh itself. And then in this case, the way that we've designed it, if our static mesh is the tile dirt, we want to add that to our tower locations. So we'll just go back to the main menu to make it more official. Run this, go to our second level, and now we can place some towers. Forgot to move the crystal thing over here, but that's okay. And again, the path should be 100 or 110 higher up Z than it is. It all looks like it's working as expected. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video and would like to see more, you know what to do. And if you would like to support this channel, watch these videos 2 weeks early, or just want to download the project files, you can do so through my Patreon linked below.